The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. All right, it's May 30th, final show in May, or no, it's not. Second last show in May, but we have a big an NBA playoff podcast for you. We'll check in on what's going on before the series moves on, as we are on the brink of having our NBA Finals be officially set. But we have the great faces, new ideas on. What's up?
I'm good, Matt. Let's get to this.
All right, let's get to it. So when you and I last spoke, the series were just beginning. I thought it'd be we kind of saw the Celtics and Indiana series. We knew what was coming there, and the Celtics swept, and they have won the East. The Boston Celtics have won the East. As for the Western Conference Finals, we have the Timberwolves and the Mavs, where the Mavericks are up 3-1 at this moment. The Mavs were on the brink of sweeping the Timberwolves, but the Timberwolves stay alive in Game 4. As we head into Game 5, which will be this Thursday, do you see any chance of this series being competitive at all, or do you think we're seeing a gentleman's sweep with Dallas winning the West?
Well, I mean, Dallas is going to win the West unless this Timberwolves do something that's literally never happened before, come down from 3-0. But yeah, this is going to be competitive. I think going into this game, they won by what? 8 last night? 5 last night?
Last night's final score was 110-105.
Okay, so there have been 8 points separating them over the last 5 games. The Dallas was up 13 through the first 3. So like this has been a close game. The series were actually closer than you would like imagine, especially on the Boston side, but we'll get to that. It depends. If Derek Lively's not playing, that's a really big blow for Dallas.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me that's not a concussion. Like in the NFL, that's a concussion. He got walloped and like he couldn't walk. But like the difference between him and Kleba, like Kleba can't move. Like first off, he's not a good rim protector when he's healthy. We saw this in the Clippers series. They lost to Game 4 or something when James Harden hit those 6 floaters because Kleba couldn't defend the paint. And then he can't shoot. Like if you watched him, I think he had like 1 3 attempt toward the end of the game, and he was short. Like he front rimmed it, but it was like a heave ho shot. Like it wasn't a jumper. Like he can't shoot right now, long range. So like he's not worth being out there. And then so they don't have a backup to Gafford. I don't know if did you see the stat they put up in Game 3 when they were talking about the most alley-oops in a playoff run in comparing teams?
I think I just missed that one. What happened?
So in Game 3, this was like halfway through Game 3. It was like the Nuggets. There was a couple other teams, and those teams had like 8 or 9 alley-oops. You know how many the Mavericks had going into Game 3?
0?
45.
45. Well, the one thing I think about is that one play where Luka's on the ground, throws to Kyrie misses it, but they get the rebound and throw back. Like that's the premier alley-oop I think of with this series. But 45 alley-oops, clearly this team is coming together. It's really fun seeing what Dallas is doing.
This is a really good series. Like first off, Luka and Kyrie playing at an unbelievable level. Luka had 2 passes last night. The Derek Jones alley-oop, where he threw it when Derek Jones was at the 3-point line, and then the right-handed cross-court pass to Derek Jones in the corner, where Derek Jones didn't even move his shooting pocket, and he just got the ball and just shot. Like, unbelievable. He is so fucking good. And then the Ant dunk is just like,
oh, yeah.
Forgotten because they lost that game. But
yeah.
This series is incredible. These are really good teams that are compared. And, like, if you're the Timberwolves, like, you have to still feel good, even though, like, they're probably going to lose this series, that, like, there's no reason you could, in theory, you don't want Cat again because he's played pretty terribly this series.
Yeah, the only good game he played was in Game 4. Keep the series.
And that was only in the fourth quarter that he was good. Like,
he only scored 5 points in the first half.
6 times, and every foul was stupid. Honestly, it's incredible how good this team is when you have Cat, who has like the worst basketball IQ, and then you have Rudy Gobert, who anytime has to take more than 2 dribbles, is the most uncoordinated player I've ever seen in the NBA. Like he is unbelievably uncoordinated when it comes, and it's just around the rim. Like he just has no ability to do anything outside of dunk. That's incredible. And like Jaden McDaniels hasn't been great this series, but I mean you gotta feel good about yourselves. Like they could very well be up 3-1 if Towns and Anthony Edwards had played to their usual levels. Like that's really been the difference, is the game that it's whoever's stars have outplayed the other stars. And Derek Lively's been fantastic, and Gafford's been like I think he's had 12 blocks in the last 3 games or something like absurd number like that. He's been really good for them. PJ Washington, even though like he hasn't been this prolific shooting, like will hit every clutch 3 that they need.
Yeah, especially from the corner.
Yeah, this is a like, and we talked about this very briefly, but like if you're the Warriors or you're the Lakers and you look at this conference, like how do you think you can run it back? Like where do you think you're like, oh yeah, we're like one piece away? Because next year the conference is just going to be better. The Grizzlies are going to be back at it. Denver will probably retool a little bit. Oklahoma City has a jillion picks that they can make a trade for.
Spurs team's on the rise.
The Spurs will probably be a play-in team. Houston may be a play-in team. Depending on what they do with this 3 pick, they might trade that. Like, you know, the Kings may make a move. This conference is a bloodbath, and there's a reason we haven't seen a repeat title in like 6 years, and it's mostly because like you can't repeat out of this conference because it's like in the East. Like the Celtics could come out of the East next year, and nobody would blink. Right. Like they should have been in basically the last 3 finals. Like they made it 2 years ago. That Heat team just got like insanely hot, and Caleb Martin literally played the best of his life. And then this year, like it's so much easier in the East.
Yeah,
like,
and
the series is phenomenal. I think they probably close it out in 5. They lost by 5. They missed 8 free throws. Luka wasn't even like he had like 22, 10, and 15 or something, and it wasn't like
28.
a great Luka game.
No, it wasn't, and he really didn't. And if you don't count that insane almost 4-point play, but he missed the 3 throw, which has been killing Dallas too. If they just shot those 3, if they were hitting their 3 throws at Game 4. The finals would already be set, but these games are competitive. I would even go. I think they could go as far as 6, and then they clinch it in front of their home crowd at Game 6. Minnesota is favored by 1.5 going into Game 5.
I think you just put Towns in every single pick and roll, just every single one, because they're not going to help. Like this is what Dallas is differently than Minnesota. Like if Luka's on an island, who has been a really good defender, like he's been a good defender, like they're going to send help to him, like regardless. They're not going to send help to Cat and Rudy. So, and if you put Cat in 15 pick and rolls, he's going to pick up at least 1 dumb foul. And if not more, like I would just force him to be intelligent for an entire game, because
don't foul yourself out either.
Right. He's gonna fuck himself over. And then on the off, and then it's going to take him out of his rhythm, and then he's going to get frustrated and try to drive, and he just has no understanding of angles. And then what's the chances he's going to get hot and hit 4 threes again? That hasn't been in the series.
He went 0 for 8 in Game 3 alone. And it's funny. It's also funny too, looking how Luka's taking advantage. I think Luka's responsible for like half of the Cat's fouls. He just always catches his feet moving at the right moment, and look what happens.
I mean, Luka's just been unbelievable. He is very clearly healthy in this series versus the last 2 where he wasn't. If he was healthy, they would have beaten the Clippers earlier, and I think they probably would have taken more games from Oklahoma City if he was healthy. But this is an unbelievable series. Like we thought when the Timberwolves played the Nuggets, that was going to be the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But like this, like it is insane to think about what could have happened. Like if the Nuggets had beaten the Spurs that one night, they would have played Oklahoma City, or maybe they would have been the 1 seed. I don't remember where it would have fallen out. But like Dallas this could have been the round 2 matchup, and then like who knows where we would have been then? Because maybe Minnesota's in better shape because they're not exhausted from playing a 7-game series. Like who knows? This conference, like it's so hard to build for this conference because like you're just a matchup away from breaking through.
Yeah. And what do you think about Kyrie's performance in this series?
I mean, he's been really good. His defense has been good. His timing is unbelievable. He's more aggressive early in the games than he was in the last series. He's just like he does at least one play a game where it's like, how the fuck did that go in? And then he had one bad game. Him and Luka didn't play great in the last game, and that's why they lost. But it's been like, it's with Kyrie. You gotta expend the time when he's being normal.
Yeah, right. That's
it's what makes him so frustrating because he's so good. Like when he's on, he's unbelievable. But we haven't had a normal Kyrie season in like a decade.
Yeah, right. Everyone points that out, and leaving Brooklyn was the right thing for him in his career. And if he gets this redemption arc against Boston as well, looks like he's going to get this redemption arc. I'm sure he will be as focused as possible to prove those fans that, I was able to win a championship before you guys in that failed experiment.
Well, to be fair, he was part of the reason it failed. Like,
true. But you think that motivation will add more drama to the series?
There's a lot of stuff going on with that. Porzingis playing against.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Luka, Tatum, trying to prove that he's the best player in the world.
I think Joe Mazzulla is he the youngest or one of the youngest coaches now officially to take a team to the finals?
Well, I mean, yeah, probably. I don't really.
It's still impressive. It's still impressive, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to talk about Boston? Look, part of the reason the series was over in four is Halliburton got hurt. But it wasn't like these were blowout games. I think there was one game they won by double digits and everything else was close.
Yeah.
They had an overtime game. Like, if you're Indiana, you're closer than you think you are. Like, that's what you got to come away thinking for this. Like, Nembhard was really good the last couple of games. Halliburton will be better in the postseason next year, presumably. You didn't have Batharin at all. Assuming next year, your first round pick will actually do some playing time and could potentially help you better than Jackson did. Like, they're closer, and they have the ability to make moves in ways that people like probably couldn't expect. Like, maybe they could get Paul George. I don't think he's going to leave since they just signed Ty Lue a $70 million deal.
I saw that.
They have options. They can, they're a little bit, and it's going to be tough because this is, they're in a similar position to Atlanta a couple years ago, but they're like more real. Like the Atlanta thing was fluky. Granted, Indiana and both Boston, basically everybody got hurt. You still got to beat whoever's in front of you. But it helps that everybody else was hurt. I mean, Boston was going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, like regardless. Like none of these teams they were matched up with were going to beat them. Like the only teams were like Philly and Milwaukee when they were healthy. Like they didn't have a shot against other teams.
No, and look what it is as a result of what happened. Miles Turner could have played a lot better as well. He had a bad series, but that's the experience of all these players are getting going in these deep runs with a great coach. You're right. Indiana has a great future, and there's plenty to be excited for there. And then, as you mentioned, and everybody said for years, and I think you made a great point about how Boston really should have won the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals, but they're here now with this new regime, with a balanced team that Brad Stevens, of all people, created. This is their chance, and it's going to be a fun and tough matchup against Dallas, which I'm very excited to break down what will likely happen. and it should be good. And the one thing too, and this is our fourth postseason together. This has been a lot of fun. Series, at least towards the end. I know the first rounds, if it was only Boston, Philly, and New York, but as the weeks have gone by, these games have been more competitive. We've seen new stars get created. It's about making your moment in the postseason, and there have been people who've done it. And who knows, too? Maybe we'll see this go to 7 or 6, which we'll break down then. But regardless, there's a lot to be excited for in this league, and it's only getting better. And showing with that in this playoffs has proven that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to finish off. As we said, it was going to be a quick show, but the NBA had a huge loss this past weekend. On Monday, unfortunately, the NBA Hall of Famer and NCAA champion and incredible color commentator Bill Walton passed away at the age of 71 due to cancer. And I mean, this guy his obituary was the front page of the New York Times. Lot of tributes, and rightfully so. So I guess my one question here for you, Faces, is what comes to mind when you think about the life of Bill Walton?
I mean, by all accounts, he was like a really great guy, and like everybody loved him.
Yeah.
I know when he was doing his commentary, a lot of some of it was weird.
Mhm.
He had some weird phrases and stuff, but like, just there was a it may have been an ESPN article about like when he came out about how like this 7-foot vegan socialist would he be able to handle the league. Like Bill Walton is been on some of the greatest teams of all time. He won the Blazers a title. He was on the '86 Celtics. He won MVP after he missed like 22 games.
Right.
That Blazers team would have been one of the best ever with it. Like he was unbelievable how good he was, and just like you know, he was just by all accounts everybody loved him, and it's a big loss when you lose somebody like that. He was just one of those titans of the game that everybody really loved. He was one of those guys who's unfortunately his career was cut short because his feet were just not able to hold up. And in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't have the technology and the medical know-how to maybe extend his career the way that it might have extended now.
Right.
But he was one of those guys who everybody, like, you could see it from the outpour of like even for players who his teams didn't play for, but like he was just universally beloved.
Yeah, and last year they did a 30 for 30 on him, a multi-part. I think it was 4 parts. I watched my dad, and just seeing this person who just made the most of life. And that's all we can ask for. And he proved it on the court. He proved it on the mic. He proved it in his Grateful Dead fandom. And he will be surely missed. And he was a special person. And I always remember I looked forward to him when I was really starting to watch basketball as a kid. Friday nights, ESPN. He was usually the West Coast color commentator. And just put a big smile on my face and millions of others, and he will surely be missed, but will not be forgotten. And truly, last but not least, Buck, your boy Wemby went viral. Somebody commented when he was 16 years old, like, "Who is this guy? He's not going to do anything in the NBA?" And he finally responded. I think there was a post 3 years later. He's like, "What do you mean? Look at
Yeah, it
him."
was. I don't care. He's just amazing. I'm happy he's in San Antonio. I'm very excited for this draft. The draft is just like, this is such a weird draft. Not because there's no guy in it, but there's like a lot of guys who have like potentially to be really good. Like
Yeah.
Sark potentially defensively. That French kid whose name I'm not gonna figure out how to pronounce till after he's drafted when I actually hear somebody say it. Um, Castle, the backcourt from Kentucky. There's a lot of like interesting guys. There's a lot of trade rumors and stuff. Bronny's, I think, staying in the draft, which
I
we've
heard that
been over multiple times, I think is a mistake. Not because he's not going to eventually be an NBA player. I just think he's being thrusted into a situation he's not ready for. He doesn't appear to like first off, again, when discussing him, almost died, came back and didn't play great. He just doesn't have a bankable skill. and he's smaller than people expected. And I think that's gonna make it a little bit more difficult for him. But
Time will
anytime
tell.
he's in the news always makes me happy because it's usually fun. And he's playing, the Olympics are soon, so we get to see him play then.
Oh, yes, we will break it down here and we'll have a lot of fun with it. But short and sweet today. Great work, Faces. And we'll see how the Western Conference Finals will play out. But regardless, it's going to be fun.